All right, so I think this might be a little bit better of a setup to get started for a second episode. Yeah, the first episode went really well. I got some really good feedback, and I think we're just gonna keep on going. So, these are essentially all the publications that have been created. We have The Lobby, American Love Story. I think we're going to go through this today. Here's I'll Find You and I'll Kill You, Volume 4, Volume 1, Volume 2. This is a entire catalog of clothing prints that we've done throughout the years. This is something we can go through later. Macy Gray, great T-shirt. And then Volume 3 is what we did last time. And today I think we're going to focus on American Love Story. Now, before we get started, I just wanted to say that this publication does have some suggestive themes in it, some pieces that might make somebody feel uncomfortable. So please, if you are offended easily or you are squirmish, there are some pretty heart wrenching moments in this one. So just heed with caution. All right. So essentially, American Love Story is produced in the cities of. Let's just make sure we're centered here. Newark, Clifton, Caldwell, and Atlantic City, New Jersey. Now, I don't know if anybody really knows much about these cities, but they're not, they're not the most traveled on cities. There's rich history. Newark, Newark, a lot of people fly into Newark Airport to go to New York City. Newark is in New Jersey. Clifton is a city just located around Newark. There's a lot of industrial areas. And then there's Caldwell. And this is where Tony Soprano's house is in the famous Sopranos series. And then there's Atlantic City. And to get to Atlantic City, I believe you go Newark to Atlantic City. You might have to stop in Philadelphia. I can't remember. But Atlantic City is in New Jersey. And Atlantic City is the old, the other Las Vegas of the States. There's a rich history there. It was once known as, the prominent area for the casinos and the boardwalk, and it's not doing so great. And this is what this publication is about. I took it upon myself to travel to New Jersey and visit Atlantic City because I wanted to see what was the state of the city now. It has one of the highest crime rates in the States. You can go ahead and fact check me on that if you need to, but when I was traveling there, that was true. And I wanted to check out, the state of New Jersey and see what's going around. And there's a very important part to this publication, which is if you go on the website and you read about American Love Story, it's about how mainstream media, mainstream brands, trends, just the mainstream, corporate world will go into these areas and take from lower income neighborhoods the fashion, the style, the way they talk, the way they walk, the way they exist, and then exploit that for their own gain in mainstream trends. Like a lot of the women in these areas in Newark, had multicolored hair and braids and long nails and, ornate jewelry stuck to the nails and what they're wearing. And you can see a lot of that being reproduced in mainstream culture. And they get it from these areas. They don't come up with it. They go to these areas on purpose, and then they exploit these people for their inherent fashion trends that they created themselves. And more often than not, it comes from a lower income area because, these people just express themselves in ways that others can't and probably will never be able to unless they're buying it off a shelf at insert your big box store here. But when you go to these areas, it's independent stores and it's on the corner and it's friends finding things for others. So this is a really it has a political undertone, this piece, and that's why I said there are some suggestive themes, because it does go into a few of these areas. And I'm not here again to take a stance. I am just here to document things that I find interesting, and this is one of them. So this is American Love Story, and it says this collection of photographs was taken in the following cities of New Jersey State, USA: Newark, Clifton, Caldwell, Atlantic City. This publication is dedicated to all the residents of Newark, New Jersey. May your cultural valor be an inspiration for generations to come. Cigcola Inc. And you can see that this is my copy. Here's the logo, and here is the train board at Newark Penn Station to all these areas that you see here. And now we can start. So welcome to American Love Story. So I took a bit of a different approach to this magazine, and what I did is I took the photographs on one side, and then I decided to write a journal on the other. And I had a notebook, and I was scribbling in my journal the entire time that I was taking these photos or walking around. And a lot of these were done also when the publication was finished. And I just thought it was a really interesting way to, capture my thoughts of what's going on. So we'll go through both. We'll go through the page, the photo, and then we'll go through the writing. And we'll just dissect it, take it apart. So here we have Newark Penn Station, the New Jersey Northeast Regional Platform. And, it's a big station, it's kind of outdoors over here. You can see in the back here, it's open, as most train stations are. Here's the waiting room or the entrance. And I said, the New Jersey Regional State Train, welcome to the Garden State. The direct line, no return, $8 fare, one-way ticket to Atlantic City. So it was direct to Atlantic City. And this is the train itself, the New Jersey Transit Northeast Regional. And, you put your ticket, which is really cool, is you put your ticket in the little clip, and the attendant walks through the carts looking at your ticket to make sure that you actually have a ticket. Now, this train was quite old. It had some characters on it, for sure. I do remember coming back, there were even more characters than going. This was from Penn Station, so there was a little bit more, police presence than there was in Atlantic City. And here I say, saw an elderly man travel with nothing except a windbreaker and flip-flops. He had dice in his eyes. Off to test his luck at the casino, no doubt. Wonder how his night turned out. So this was taken in New Jersey before I left. This is Newark. It's just a convenience store, and it's written here, ATM Lotto and Broken Glass. I love broken glass. Storefront, pawn shop, checks, loans and bail bonds, Lotto Max, one-stop shop for all things money. And this was a one-stop shop. It was absolutely everything in one. It was an all-in-one stop. They had, everything you'd see at a corner store, but then there was like a tiny pawn shop in here. You could exchange, you could borrow, it was just a crazy store, right? And obviously, you have the broken glass at the front, just its own story, I'm sure, behind why that is there. Now we're in Atlantic City for the top. This is called Half Caesar. I remember this very early in the morning. I woke up to check the casinos, and I just happened to see the Caesar statue on the inside. The way these casinos are laid out is there is a boardwalk in Atlantic City, and many of the casinos are on that strip. And then there's the city behind it, which we'll see later on in this publication. And I just caught this guy with his cowboy hat and his cigarette and his Hawaiian shirt and just strolling into the casino. And we're there for very different things, but I'm glad I caught him. And the top half Caesar says 10 a.m., shirt, hat, shoes, and cigarette. Acknowledge the statue. It's good luck. Max bet. And here at the bottom, we have what I called a day to repent, and I put rest in peace. I was in a cemetery. I do like cemeteries. I do travel to cemeteries when I can, and I take a look. I find them peaceful. I like the ornate statues that are laid out in a cemetery. There's always flowers. I understand people are mourning, but, for some, death is a tragedy, and for some, death is a celebration of life. It just depends how you look at it. And I really liked this statue here. I thought it was very prominent in the cemetery itself. This was early January, February, so there were no leaves on the trees. You have another little statue over here, and I just really liked the layout of this. It was very calming, and I was driving around the city, and I happened to pass it. So this was still in Newark or Caldwell, like I was saying before, and this was taken in Atlantic City, so they're a little mixed up here, but it's still part of the whole story, right? So this is why I mentioned maybe there's a little bit of, you know, viewer discretion advised, and we'll discuss this photo after. But here you go. Here's the back strip of Atlantic City. Atlantic City has the strip in the front, like here on the hotels. There's a boardwalk which you can walk, but then there's the backside, and the backside is not very well kept. It is quite gritty and not the nicest place. It's definitely a not a no-go zone close to these areas, but it can definitely get there. You have to be careful. You want to walk around, with your head on a swivel and just keep to yourself and make sure you're not causing any trouble or in anyone's sights. And I called this the Century Tower billboards. Backside of the Atlantic City Strip, casino adjacent. Christ died for our sins. So if you watched my first episode, I like to tell stories. So they have this billboard right in the middle behind this casino. I'm not sure what casino this is. I would guess like Bali's or something. I'm actually curious as to what casino this is. But on the backside, they have this Christ died for our sins. This huge billboard on this interesting tower. And then just not even like, 10-minute walk away, you can kind of see what I'm talking about the kind of area this is, and you have these two people who are, laying in front of this statue, and I just happened to be walking by, and they were taking a sleep in the sun on what I could see is a school courtyard or a school lawn. And I quickly took this picture because I didn't really want people to know that I was taking pictures around these areas. Again, it's not the nicest area, and sometimes if you're taking pictures, people don't really react very well to that. So I was really happy I snapped this picture. I think it's very powerful. It says a lot. There's a lot of religious undertones. There's a lot of, about poverty and low income, and whatever you want to add to that setting, you can. And my write-up is the lawn, the proximity to the buffet, 0.1 miles. Be thankful for what you have. All right, so here we get into the top. This is Clifton, New Jersey. This is an incredible photo. It's one of my favorite photos. I love everything about it. I love the awning that's been painted blank. This car, just the state of the car, the way it's parked, and this woman sitting on it, on the hood in front of the store. And you have the door here with a bit of graffiti and the numbers on the door, the parking sign, the tin rafter fencing, and then a different fence on the other side, the locked gate, the light garbage on the floor. And this was not a nice area. Again, this is back in New Jersey, and I was in the car driving, and I just full stopped and took a full flash of this photo. I'm not really sure what this shop is. Smoke shop. So it says smoke shop on the window. I don't know if it's still that, but great building, great area. A lot of unique fashion trends in that area. A lot of very independent looking people, if that makes sense. And written is drove through central Clifton on the road back to Newark, 12th South Street, all the way down. They said stay off the numbered streets. No kidding. And takeaway, the style ranks supreme. You can really see where the mainstream media steals its fashion trends. Found exactly what I was looking for. Culture unmatched. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm going to accentuate this little, sorry, I got tape on this. Accentuate this here. You know, culture unmatched and the style ranked supreme. You can really see where the mainstream media steals its fashion trends. This is a big deal for me, and this is why I'm here and why I came to see this firsthand, because I think this is a really big disservice to the way that we are fed media. Not to name names, but you can put a couple pop culture icons in here, and this is where they get it from. And while the hundreds of millions of people follow these icons, these are the real people who make it. And I'd rather just know that for myself instead of thinking it's true. Down here, you have Atlantic Avenue. This is the back side of the strip. You can see here Caesars. You can see here another casino. And then you can see just the road. There's Atlantic Avenue. And then I believe it's Pacific Avenue. I can't really remember. But there's a gridded system of streets. And it's kind of like the more deep you go and the more east you go, it starts to get a little, no-go zone. But here is pretty safe still. You have small businesses. You have, what is this, Super Bit Mart, the barbershop, the Plaza de Roma. Amazing. What a great name for a restaurant. And just the middle of the day. Atlantic Avenue, between the ocean and the residence of AC, the monstrous concrete structures of windowless casinos shelter the boardwalk. Tourists from the reality of a city crumbling apart in despair, a constant siren wailing nearby. That is true. So two things. One, there are no windows here at this casino. And if anybody knows casinos, you know that they want you to stay there as long as humanly possible, right? There's no windows. I've read somewhere that maybe they even pump oxygen into casinos to keep you awake. It's a maze inside, but here you can see the backside of these casinos. Absolutely no windows. And this part about the sirens, that is true. There is always a siren in Atlantic City. I can't remember a minute that went by that there weren't sirens going off. And, if you go back to the front of the video, I explain a little bit as to why. It's a place going through a tough time. Here we go, shiny objects. So Golden Pockets and Race Day. This is inside the casinos. I'm not sure which casino this was, but there are some nice rooms at these casinos. There's two sides now of Atlantic City. There's the Strip, which is kind of the old school, and then there's the other side that has the hotel and resort called the Borgata, and it's surrounded by the Golden Nugget and a couple other casinos. And I just found these jackets hanging in one of their gift shops, and you could just really see the difference between, the trends in fashion and how far apart they go from the street into, the gift shop at the casino. And here you have a live horse betting race, and you're not supposed to be taking pictures in here. And I was hanging out by the door, and I just snapped a few, and I noticed like it came out with these lights because it was super dark inside, and I guess I was trying to get a photo inconspicuously through the side of the door, and my hand was moving. But these banker lamps all over the place are fantastic. They are so great, and you can't really see, but there's a person at every single desk here playing this room all the way to the front. There's at least 100 people in here playing. And what did I write? Golden Pockets and Race Day. Inside, away from the streets, retail stores sell ornate jackets, bets placed on big screen horse races, inadvertent shadow ban, the outside world. And that's just the screens, right? They're all watching these screens while they sit inside in the dark placing their bets. Resort fee and Bayside texts. So this is one of the insides to the pool at the resorts, and this is the resort itself. This is all indoors, and I just thought this was, a really interesting sort of zoo of people with their baskets and their towels and the lawn chairs everywhere. It came out blurry, and I don't mind that. I think it's great. Really interesting. And then here you had a clear photo of the people hanging out by the pool. You have this woman, she's on her phone, and then this guy with the ball in the back. This man looking up at the sun, like the sun through the skylight. You have your lifeguard, and then I thought this was really great. This woman over here, I love her hair. Over here, the bald, like, I guess not braids, but yeah, I wouldn't even know how to describe that. Excellent though. People in the pool just swimming. And I wrote, resort fee and Bayside text, chlorine and concrete. It's your day at the spa. Don't forget your wristband. Yeah, you had to pay to go inside if you're not staying at the hotel. So I was taking pictures through the glass. And that's why I said zoo. It was literally like through a pane glass that I was taking these photos. I'm really glad I got them. All right, so Borgata Hotel Casino, Field of Dreams. This is what I mean about the other side of Atlantic City. You have this brand new, beautiful casino, and then you have these really decrepit, just falling apart buildings, and you can see the roof here is just starting to fall apart, and there's nothing in the lot. The posts are rusted. And I was walking around through these fields, just exploring this whole area. And a couple of the photos I snapped were back there in the Borgata itself. And I wrote, Borgata Hotel and Casino, jackpot on slots, robbery in progress, free soap in every room. And that's what I meant by these sirens all the time in Atlantic City while people are just sitting here gambling or roaming the streets outside. And here's called Field of Dreams, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, casino to casino, blackjack, a bust. And this guy was just walking from casino to casino in the middle of this huge field while I was walking the other way through the huge field. And I thought it was just so funny that we were crossing paths because it's pretty far between a couple of these casinos. And we just both decided to walk through the field instead of the sidewalk. And we just crossed each other, and I don't know where he was going or where he was coming from, and I'm sure he thought the same of me, but just a great little pic there. The backside of Atlantic City, the not so nice part, yard sale, backseat driver. I wrote yard sale and backseat driver, end of the road, end of the line, back the way you came, thanks for visiting. American Love Story, Cigcola Inc. And this is the side people don't see, right? It's not an up and coming area. It's a place people come and they dump their garbage now from outside and in the other areas of Atlantic City. You have broken down cars, and you just have a state of disarray and pretty evident poverty, and it's sad to see. Atlantic City used to be a prominent area, and people are kind of struggling there, struggling for work. And just be fortunate for what you have, right? And this is a lot of the exploration. I remember that this building is near to the boardwalk on the front side, and I just did a huge loop. I went as far as I could before I thought, maybe it's getting a little bit too out of my comfort zone. I don't like walking into places and then not knowing where to escape if I have to. I've been in a few situations where things have gotten a little heated, and I really felt vulnerable. So I went as far as I could, feeling comfortable until I felt a little bit of uncomfort, and then I went a little more and then said, okay, now it's time to just do a big loop around. But this is where I ended up, pretty much at a dump site behind some people's houses here, and that was it. That was my trip to Atlantic City. And here you have just a picture of, all of the tickets I had going to from Vancouver to New York, and then Newark, right? And then here my train tickets passing through Philadelphia. So you did go through Philadelphia to get to Atlantic City. It's Newark to Philadelphia, Philadelphia to Atlantic City, Newark here, and then a couple of the places that I wanted to visit, my notes, and back to the train board. So there you have it. That was American Love Story. Thanks for listening.